What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Panels on Pages. Today, I want to talk about Black Adam. Let's just do it. My wife and I just watched this last night for the first time. I definitely had some opinions about it based on the trailers, based on the things that other people were saying. So I can't say I went in with like a clean slate, but I always try to just put my expectations to the bare minimum. And I will say, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I do that because I can certainly understand why a lot of people who may have gone in with high expectations came away feeling really disappointed. This movie is fine. Like it's fine. Like it's good in the sense of like some action happens, some decent fight scenes. Certainly not great fight scenes. I would probably put these fight scenes, better than Iron Fist, but what isn't? Better than Wonder Woman 84, so I'll give it that, right? It's not the worst DCEU movie, so there's that to it, right? I think Wonder Woman and the first Suicide Squad probably fight for the worst. Wonder Woman 84 specifically. Wonder Woman 84 might be the worst, though. I think it might be the worst because I still think I'd rather watch the first Suicide Squad than Wonder Woman 84. This I would absolutely rather watch than Wonder Woman 84. At least it has some of the more interesting lore characters. And honestly, that's the biggest flaw I found in this movie. I'm going to try to not do a ton of spoilers, but just like generally the lore points that it brings up and the lore, like the wider DC universe stuff that it gets intertwined with, lacks on so many levels that makes me want more of that stuff way more than I am like just kind of enjoying the movie, right? I mean, like the reason the Justice Society shows up alone, which is something which is in like the first 5 minutes or whatever, or for first 10 minutes, the reason the Justice Society gets involved makes no sense. And that right there, as soon as I'm like, why? I mean, like there is someone in this movie that I was like, why is this person in this movie? Because it makes no sense that they would be working with the Justice Society, especially not in the capacity that they seem to be. So I that really threw me off entirely from the narrative of it, because I'm like, what, like, is this not? Because I mean, the way they portray themselves, right? They're supposed to be the Justice Society, but they're like the reason, like the thing that they do, which is like their sales pitch when they're asked like what, who they are and why they're there. It doesn't make sense. Again, it doesn't make sense. It really, like, a lot of the shit that they did to this movie and to these characters is really, truly disappointing. I will say, standout performance by, the hell is his name? Pierce Brosnan. Standout performance. Outstanding. I would 100% watch a Dr. Fate movie in which he is the like guiding spirit for the new Dr. Fate in the new the DCU. Because it's like, oh, we're not going to make that guy, but like you could make it so that like his spirit is still around or something from the old universe and he's guiding, right? That's my thought. I think Cyclone was fine. I think Atom Smasher, really disappointing. Like he's just this goofy kid. And that is a word that I said way too many times while watching a movie called Black Adam. About a character that is really intensely serious. There's a lot of goofy in this. A lot of goofy in this movie, and I don't understand why. I mean, the supporting characters are really one note, really kind of boring, but just, it's like they wanted to do the like plot from the comics, but then also didn't. Because it very much seems like they had this idea, right? The history that is told by the people and the real history are different, of course. And it's like it's almost trying to get us to watch the movie from the perspective of the Kandaki people, but also from his perspective, which really disorienting, and you end up not really knowing who's supposed to be the main character. Because while yes, he is the main character, is he? Like, I have questions about that with in the way it was presented, in my opinion. I really, really wanted more out of this movie, generally speaking. Like, once it was done, I was like, the fuck? Like, the Justice Society lore that was brought in, I'm so much more interested in that. The kind of different view, or how do I want to say it? The, like, different perspective on the history of the what are they called? The sorcerers, the Council of Wizards, Council of Wizards. The different history, like how it was told from the perspective of, I guess, the told history and his actual recollection, plus the way it was told from the Wizard's perspective in Shazam. That is the one thing I will say. At least the Wizard's the same guy. That Wizard's the same guy. I don't really think you see any of the faces of the other wizards, even the original Wizards Council. But like it's like, as much as there was tale of, oh, he didn't want to be related to Shazam at all. He wanted to be like a separate character, his own hero or whatever. No, like I don't think there's any confusion. Like, that's the guy from, like, he's the character from, he's the old what they call him, the old champion that turned on them or whatever. 100%. Like, there's no question in my mind. Like, I don't know if it's intentionally told that way. I don't know if it's meant to be like, yeah, they're like part of the same lineage, but also like we're not making him like Shazam's bad guy. I don't know. There was so many things told about that, so many stories, and even from Dwayne Johnson, that was like, I don't really know what you're doing with this, because it's like these two characters are really so intrinsically intertwined that for you to say that they're not part of the same lineage is kind of weird, and that he's not his villain is kind of weird. So like, it's to me, the history of it, right? The wizard being the same guy, this story kind of being these two perspectives of the story that was told in the first Shazam movie, very briefly, which he was supposed to cameo in, but just decided not to, even though apparently this movie was in production for like 9 years. And that's the other thing, right? Why was this movie in production for 9 years? If this was what 9 years of work looks like, whoever was working on it wasn't doing a good job. Like, I'm sorry. 9 years? I need Avatar. You're going to give me 9 years of production and pre-production to give me this? Like, nah. This should have been, like, for 9 years of production, for 9 years of thinking about it and planning it, for 9 years of production, this should have been DC's Deadpool. Because that's exactly what happened, right? It was, we've been working on this for 11 years, trying to get it figured out. The nuance of it all was worked out well before they ever hit record. I don't think they did that for this. I think they were just like, here's what we want to do. Here's some fucking ideas we're going to throw around. Look, actually, like, kind of dumb, not really thought out action. It's fine. I would say on a scale of 10, and I'm kind of reworking my ratings here. On a scale of 10, I would put this at a 5. I would put this as pretty much my minimum, like, this is the worst movie I would rewatch from the DC stable. Wonder Woman 84 is a sub 5 movie. I'm not even gonna like try to differentiate like sub 5 movies honestly anymore. If to me it's worse than this, I don't give a shit. Like, that's kind of where I'm at mentally. Wonder Woman 84 is sub 5. The first Suicide Squad is sub 5. Like, I don't necessarily want to rewatch either of those movies. I would want to watch this movie just for some of the tech and, like I said, some of the like tangential things, some of the not him things. His story is fine. I mean, it was the blandest, like, most generically friendly way you could tell this story, and that's not what this story's about. Like, he's not supposed to be this. And it's like to even say that he's like, oh, he's this remorseful good guy or anti-hero even. Nah, like, he was a bad dude. But in this, he was a good guy and then essentially just like had a bad day. And I don't really like that perspective of it. Like, that's not what the story was, and that's not what made him interesting. This is just like some shit happened and he had a really bad fucking day, and because of that, he's a villain. And I don't like how that flies at all. Like I said, overall, about a 5. Like, if I had to put it on a scale, about a 5. Yeah, this is pretty much going to be the bare minimum. Like, the fights are fine. Supporting cast is whatever. Honestly, the like tertiary supporting dude, the most interesting, like way more interesting than like the mom or the kid that are supposed to be like the main supporting cast. Like, I don't give a shit about them. Like, literally, the bad guy is telegraphed right at the beginning. Like, right at the beginning. There's just no question in my mind. As soon as it happened, I was like, yeah, duh. Like, that's exactly, like, they set this up. This is what it was always going to be. Yeah, no, man, disappointing. Very disappointing. I really wanted this to be a better movie. I read the era when they introduced the mom and the well, it was her brother in the comics, but you know, it's her kid or whatever. They were introduced in the comics during the like 52 1 year later, all that nonsense. I read that whole era. I read a lot of Black Adam in that era, and then I read all of New 52. And the way the story was told in New 52 is kind of what they did here, but also not. And also, like, I'm glad they're getting a reset. That's kind of the biggest thing I took away from this, because a lot of the storytelling decisions that were made compared to the source material are bad. And that's happened basically every time they've done these movies. When they take source material and then what we see, the choices they make in the adaptation process are bad choices. So the fact that there is a new leadership, that the fact that someone else will be making those decisions is nothing but great for this universe. I will say I am, because of this pattern now that I've seen and keep seeing from these movies, I am concerned. I mean, like, I'm not gonna go see The Flash anyway, but I'm concerned if I'm gonna enjoy it even when I see it. It's looking like it might be fun, but I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy the whole thing. Certainly not gonna enjoy it for the star, because Jesus fucking Christ. But I am concerned about Blue Beetle. That genuinely looks fun as hell. I love that character ever since that same era of the 52 and all that stuff when he first appeared, and like Ted Kord's death and all that stuff. Like, I read that whole era. I read all of New 52. I was super disappointed with how little shine he got in New 52. I really fucking like Jaime. I liked him in Young Justice. I liked him in the comics. And if they fuck this up, I'm gonna be genuinely disappointed. Like, I'm gonna walk in with like zero expectations of it being good, but I am hopeful that it's good. I would love for it to be good. Because first of all, it's the first DC movie I'm paying money to since Wonder Woman 84. No, we saw that here. Shit, is it Justice League? I think it's Justice League, because I never saw Aquaman in theaters either. Yeah, I think Justice League is the last fucking thing we paid for. So, like, that is going to be the first DC film I am putting money into in a long fucking time. Yeah, so I'm really hoping that it's good. I have genuine hope that it's good. Because honestly, as long as there's no like bullshit references to anything I'm just going to call it fucking Flashpoint. Pre-Flashpoint, I'm just going to consider this in the new universe. And then to me, this will be the first thing going forward. Because I honestly don't think Jason Momoa is going to do another Aquaman movie unless this one makes $1 billion and then they just like add more zeros to the back of his check. I just don't think he's going to do another one, because he's expressed heavily that he wants to play Lobo. And what I'm thinking they might do, and it could make sense, they'll put out Aquaman, they'll give it some time, they'll put him as Lobo in an animated thing, because they've already said like the animated stuff will be the same actors. And then, it'll be 5 years, it'll be 7 years or whatever, but it'll be a couple projects with him playing animated Lobo, and then they'll do him live action Lobo. So that'll be like a distance from Aquaman, and people won't be like, why is Aquaman playing? Why is the same guy, Even though in reality, people don't care. Like, there's a few people that have played multiple characters in the Marvel Universe, and no one says any damn thing. So I think it's not that big a deal. So I think it's quite possible that they will do the same person playing a different character. I really don't think people will care, especially when he's like all masked up, like painted fully white. Like, he's gonna look completely different. I really hope Blue Beetle does better, because this is not a good movie. Black Adam. That's the other thing. Oh man, and this is not a plot point. This is just like the backstory was they were enslaved and forced to mine this mineral that was only available in Kahndaq. Yeah. I was like, oh, they saw Black Panther before they made this, because that's where they got that idea from, because Eternium is not from Kahndaq in the comics at all. At all. Not even a little bit. It's part of the Rock of Eternity. And no, they're supposedly mining Eternium because it's only found in Kahndaq, nowhere else in the world. Nah, that's a genuine ripoff of Vibranium. Don't even act. And even Eternium's even a recent addition to the DC canon in the comics. So this is very much a new choice you made. Like that was dumb. I'll be honest with you. That was dumb. I saw that and I was like, oh, I've seen this movie before. And there's a couple scenes as well that they just kind of ripped off from other movies. Like scenes that are like, this came from this movie. Like there's just no way to be like, this isn't from that movie. Because they're not scenes that these characters, they're not like moves that these characters do in the comics. Like these aren't like their tradition or like their, what would you call it? They're not, they're like signature moves. This is stuff from other movies that other characters did in other movies that they were like, that's cool, we should make our guy do that too. Man, it's a very disappointing movie. Very, very disappointing movie. I would have really liked to be wrong. I would have really fucking liked to be wrong because I like Black Adam's character. I've been skimming the new series and it looks very interesting. I mean, the fact that he was on the Justice League, that's a very intriguing proposition. It's almost like when Luthor joined the Justice League at the end of like the tail end of New 52. It was very, very like, like do we trust him? Can we trust him? Like he's fucking Luthor, you know? But it's like same thing with Black Adam. It was very much like, can we trust Black Adam? Like he's fucking Black Adam. But then he kept proving himself. So it's like I really, really wanted this to be a better movie, but sadly it was not. I would definitely give it a 5. I think for me, with my new scale, nothing in the DC films that I have seen so far, DCEU, not the Batman, is probably like a 8.5, 9. Like it's not a great fucking movie. Like an 8, 8.5. Let's be. We'll just call it 8.5. We'll go the high end. So the Batman is 8.5. But like Zack Snyder's Justice League, probably. The fucking long scenes and the long shots and the fucking Icelandic singing and shit, the like auteur shit that he put in there really brings it down, honestly. I think if he had cut that bullshit and just added the new story bits that were cut out, like I like that movie way better than the theatrical version because of the addition, or like rather the restoration of Cyborg's entire arc in that, because there was way more Cyborg in that version. And I liked that a lot. I liked the fact that we actually got to meet Vic Stone. It's that probably sits at like a 7.5. Because of all that fucking auteur bullshit, all the like, oh, I'm a fucking fancy guy. Like it's and the fact that he did that stupid fucking flash forward with fucking Jared Leto. Like no one fucking wanted to see Jared Leto as the Joker again, but there's Zack Snyder being like, you fucking gonna see him though. So, yeah, that's probably a 7.5. Wonder Woman, man, 8.5, 9. Like, I'm gonna give the first Wonder Woman a 9. Like, that's a great fucking movie. Batman v Superman, probably 8. Man of Steel, 8.5, 9. Like, I think it was a very, very good movie. I think especially for the time, I think it had a lot of potential as far as setting up that universe, and they just really fucking fumbled the ball. Like if we had gotten a Man of Steel 2, if we had gotten a Batman standalone and then gotten a Batman vs Superman, that could have been much more interesting. But the fact that they jumped to Batman vs Superman, like that honestly by itself derailed the entire DC, because it just sped up everything and we didn't know any of these characters, and essentially you didn't even get a chance to give a fuck about most of these characters. Yeah, and the fact that I've had to like headcanon explanations away about why shit is the way shit is in the universe, like yeah, they fumbled the fucking ball heavily for the DC universe. The second Suicide Squad movie, that's an 8. That's an 8. That's a fun fucking movie. That's a fun fucking movie. I haven't seen Peacemaker yet, so that's like the last thing that I'm missing that I haven't seen yet, or I haven't seen the new Shazam movie. Shazam, 7.5, like solid 7.5. It's a fun movie. It's certainly not the best. Honestly, I might even give it an 8. Might even give it an 8. I think I'd rather rewatch that than fucking Justice League. So yeah, I'd give it an 8. Is that everything? The first Aquaman. I think even though it's forgettable, I would probably still give it an 8 because I think when I was watching it, I was really enjoying the entire presentation, and it did a really decent job at converting that New 52 story. So I'll give it an 8 because I think I'd rather rewatch that than Justice League 2. What else? Am I missing anything? I don't think I'm missing anything. Oh, Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey is a good fucking movie. It is not a great, it's a great, like action movie. It's a great movie. It is not a great comic book movie. It's not a great, it's a terrible Birds of Prey movie. The fact that they called it Birds of Prey is a big part of why I don't like it, because you don't even get to Birds of Prey until fucking 20 minutes from the end. If not even maybe 10 minutes from the end. I'll give that a 7.5, because I'd probably still rather watch that more than Justice League. Just for time. The fact that they did Cassandra dirty like that and just kind of made her not Batgirl, nah. Like, not even remotely seeming to like want to go into that direction. Like, it's a different take, and that is what it is. You know, I'm perfectly fine for like accepting adaptations. There's just certain things that it's like, that could have been any character. That could have been any character without robbing that universe potentially of the presence of that Batgirl, because that Batgirl is so fucking cool. They did the same thing on Titans. Barbara Gordon was never fucking Batgirl on Titans, which is fucking insane to me. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's all the movies. So Peacemaker's the only one that I haven't seen yet. That'll be coming up soon. That's the show. And then the next thing is going to be Shazam, because that comes out in like 3 weeks on HBO Max. We'll watch that, and that'll probably be an episode coming up. If you have any questions, drop me a line on Twitter at IndieHypeMan. I'd love to have this conversation. If you have other thoughts about Black Adam, let me know. I'm happy to discuss. I think this one is probably the most nuanced as far as like where opinions are going to fall. I think a lot of people who maybe are riding hard for this movie are like Dwayne Johnson fans. And honestly, I'm a Dwayne Johnson fan. This is probably his worst work that I've seen. His acting was really poor, especially compared to other things that I've seen him in. Like, this was surprisingly bad for Dwayne Johnson. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you in the next one.
But I'm back at him. If you want to rock, well, here's Black Adam. And the flow is tight like a back spasm. I'ma run it up and probably step at him. Yeah, just minding my business and doing my job. Killing myself in the name of the squad.